This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
Hello and welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we bring South at the center. I'm Dhanya, Rajendran, your host. Today we are having a bit of a strange South Central because Pooja Prasanna is not next to me, the co-host. And our second co-host, Leena Reghunath, is in Kerala. Leena, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dhanya.
So normally we record the show on Wednesdays or Thursdays. But this time we're recording this on Tuesdays because we have a special guest in the studio and he was in Bengaluru only just for a day. So I want to give you a fair warning that some of the headlines we read out may sound a bit redundant by Friday. I'm not going to read out any of the Iran-Israel headlines because by the time the show comes on Friday, it's all going to look very different. So let me introduce the guest on the show for whom we actually had to make sure that the show is shot on Tuesday. Welcome to South Central, Mr. Honey Trehan. Honey is a veteran Bollywood director, film producer who has collaborated on many projects. We are going to talk about his latest project, which is called Punjab 95. It's a film based on the life of human rights activist Jaswant Singh Khalra. It starred Diljit Dosanjh, Arjun Rampal and other actors. It is not released in India or anywhere in the world because the censor board wants almost 127 cuts in the movie. So Honey is here in the studio with us to speak about his
Dhanya.
movie.
Thank you so much for having me.
And joining us also on the show is Amandeep Sandhu. Amandeep is a prominent Punjabi writer. He's a journalist. He has written 3 or 4 books. Sepia Leaves, Roll of Honor, Punjab, The Journeys Through Fault Lines, Bravado to Fear to Abandonment, Mental Health and the COVID Lockdown. Amandeep is based out of Bengaluru and I call him the in-house Punjab expert. Thank you very much, Amandeep, for joining us here on the show.
Thank you. Tumba dhanwad.
So we'll quickly go through the headlines today. But before that, I just want to tell you that we have published a story today. It's called Is Your Medicine Safe? Karnataka has flagged 305 faulty drugs in the last 5 months alone. My colleague Anisha Sheth went through all the lists of the medicines which have been declared as non-standard or NSQ. And she also found very disturbingly that these medicines range from what you use for diabetes or for heart attack or even IV fluids. And eventually are they recalled? Because once a drug goes to a pharmacy and there is a fault in the drug, then it is supposed to be recalled. What Anisha found is that the recall system does not actually work properly. Do read the story. It's on the homepage of the News Minute. It's called Is Your Medicine Safe? It is behind a paywall. Now, don't ask me the story is in public interest. Why is it behind paywall? As I have told you repeatedly, yes, it's an altruistic profession, but we have to keep it going. And that's why our subscribers pay for important stories. So I hope you will pay the subscription and read the story. I'll quickly go to the headlines. Leena, Amandeep, Honey, if you want to say anything about any of the headlines, do join in. So the first headline is from Kerala. Body of Kerala nurse killed in Ahmedabad plane crash was brought home. Her funeral is going to be held in Pathanamthitta. This is Ranjita Gopakumaran Nair. She was one of the people who were on that Air India flight. After all the DNA tests, her body was identified and it's been brought back. A minister received it at the airport and it was taken to Pathanamthitta. Now we go to Madurai, where lakhs gathered as Hindutva groups rallied behind the Murugan Hill dispute. Pawan Kalyan, the Deputy Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, and K. Annamalai, who is the former BJP Chief of Tamil Nadu, were the star attractions of the event. My colleague Sudipto Mondal was in Madurai covering this, and please do read his report. In fact, Sudipto is doing a longer piece on this Murugan Hill dispute, which is happening in and around Madurai, and how the Hindutva forces are coming together. Okay, now my next headline is from Andhra Pradesh. Nalgonda Bishop Karnam Dhaman Kumar has been barred from a German diocese over sexual abuse allegation. This is a story my colleague Janvi has done. We just published it. So this is a bishop who was ordained last year. He was supposed to go back to Germany. That's where he had been working for many years. But as he decided to go back to Germany for some event, one person, we do not know any details about this person, but that person said that the sexual abuse happened a few years ago between 2005 and 7. The German diocese have now barred this bishop from Nalgonda from visiting the German diocese. But no surprises, we did not get any reactions from any of the Catholic Church leaders here in India. In Hyderabad, they were refusing to react. The Nalgonda bishop did not react to us. But from Germany, everybody confirmed that yes, there is an investigation. My next headline is from Karnataka. Karnataka proposes 7-year jail for fake news, anti-feminist, Sanatan disrespecting content. So the Karnataka government has placed before the state cabinet a draft bill against fake news and misinformation, which proposes jail term up to 7 years and fine up to 10 lakh rupees. It also allows the state to block posts that it considers anti-feminist, obscene, disrespectful of Sanatan symbols. Amandeep, what are your thoughts about this?
I think there should be no law like that, meant only for one religion, one community, one people. I mean, we are given to believe that we are all equal citizens in the country. And I don't think increasing the severity of laws actually stops blasphemy, because, and there is no definition of who can take disrespect on what, So I think it's a very flawed approach to handling what has been going on in the world and against various communities at various points of time. So I think such a law should not be there.
Yeah, and I think we've had several discussions saying that the government should not be defining what fake news is. Because the second the government does that, it becomes very problematic. Like how the censor board just decides what to censor or not, right? So we have been saying this, whether it's the BJP government, whether it's the Congress government which brings it, fake news and censorship by the government is very problematic. And to say that you can block posts that you consider anti-feminist, obscene, who in the government is going to sit and decide what is anti-feminist, what is obscene, or what is against Sanatana symbols? So the Karnataka government should really step back. And I'm also hearing that this draft bill has not been sent for comments. It has not been opened up for civil society to comment also. So it's a very dangerous territory they're treading, and they should really sit back and think about this. Quickly, from Telangana High Court has questioned the State Election Commission's failure to conduct the Gram Panchayat polls. The Panchayat polls happened in 2024 and there has been no polls after that. From Kerala, and I end the headlines here, activists have flayed Kerala High Court ruling that denies travellers toilet access in fuel pumps. You may wonder why I've picked this headline when so many other political things are happening. Precisely why. Because I think this needs a lot of attention. Imagine in a country where public toilets are so less in number and access also is difficult. Many people do use fuel pumps as the place where they can access toilets. And the court is saying, no, you cannot. Did you look at what happened in Kerala, Leena?
No, this is very shocking because we all have been on long reports traveling on the road in Kerala. And one of the places that I think most women go washrooms is toilet.
So the first topic that we're going to discuss today is about this movie called Punjab 95. In fact, at the beginning of this podcast, I said that this is a podcast where we put South at the center. Normally on South Central, we do discuss topics which are close to South India. But today I thought we should do something different because this is the story of a man that all of us in India should be aware of. And the fact that there is a movie which was made about this man from Punjab and the government is stopping that movie from getting released. The movie's name is Punjab 95. It was made by director Honey Trehan, starring Diljit Dosanjh, Arjun Rampal and other actors and produced by Ronnie Screwwala. It's based on the life of Jaswant Singh Khalra. Jaswant Singh Khalra was a human rights activist. Actually, he was just a bank employee who decided to fight for rights in Punjab. This is in the 1990s. After the assassination of Indira Gandhi and when Punjab saw huge insurgency. At that time, the Punjab police were given a free hand to deal with militants and Khalistanis, and there were a lot of extrajudicial killings or encounters as we call them. We are not talking about encounters in the hundreds but in the thousands. So Jaswant Singh Khalra is someone who did meticulous work. He went to 3 police stations, found all the data from mortuaries and hospitals and figured out that 2,000 people had been killed in just 3 police station limits. He estimated that the extrajudicial killings in the whole of Punjab would be around 25,000. On 6 September 1995, Jaswant Singh Khalra disappeared. He was abducted by the Punjab police and he was murdered. Officials of the Punjab police force were convicted for the murder of Jaswant Singh Khalra, and this is the first time that a movie has been made on an activist who fought for the people of Punjab. But that movie is not being allowed to get released in India. Why? But let me quickly first go to Honey to understand What exactly has the censor board asked?
There are only the cuts been given. So there is no legitimate discussion, and the team of censor board, they don't come in front, sit across the table and make us understand what is the problem with the film, because nobody is talking about those things only. And these cuts also doesn't come officially like from their like censor board's platform. It doesn't come from their email address. It doesn't come. They give it to their lawyer. Their lawyer tells those cuts to RSVP, who's my producers. And then we been told to work on these cuts. There are some, it started actually with the 21 cuts. And those were ridiculous cuts and didn't make any sense. And time and again, we approached censor board. Please tell us, give us the legitimate reasons. Let's be open for the dialogue and let's understand where's the problem. And they said, no, these are the cuts and we need these cuts, which me, my producers, we all disagreed with. And after like 6 months of waiting period, and we decided to go to the court of law. Ki whatever the decision court will give, we'll agree to that. So that thing was happening like in June 2023. We went to the court and first we submitted the film to censor board in December 2022. So almost like 6 months of the battle, and we went to High Court of Bombay, where when the proceedings started and the Lordship heard the entire thing from our side and from the other party, from the censor board side as well. Finally, it was reached to that kind of a decision where the things censor board was talking about, those things were barely an assumptions and their side of reading of the film. That reading was definitely, because I attended all the hearing, was though their reading was completely different than the way film is being conceived, made, and so is the Lordship has seen the film. And even he asked the question to the learned lawyer, since when the courts have started working on assumptions? They had no answer about that. And the other thing, later, there was a second last hearing was going on when the Lordship had seen the film and the learned lawyer had also seen the film. Then this argument took place. And finally, see, I tell you, the film is based on a legal history. If you are challenging the film, you are challenging the Constitution of India. Because Jaswant Singh Khalra was a human rights lawyer who was kind of a whistleblower. During the insurgency period, whatever was going on, he came out as a hero, as a whistleblower. He took the matter to the state government. When the state government didn't hear that matter like wisely, and United Nations had called him, he went to Canada and he presented his case over there also. Their intelligence told him that you might get killed if you go back home to Punjab. You can take the asylum. He had all the options. Still, he came back. He fought for those people, for those extrajudicial killings, and for those unacclaimed dead bodies. When he was fighting for those things, and one day he gets abducted. His family becomes one of the same family he was fighting for. When he gets abducted, they go to the court, they go to the cops, and the cops said, this is the case of disappearing. All those things were playing on. It became a bigger issue. Then the central government came into the picture. Wisely, they formed the CBI. They informed them to take the case, to handle the case. And then CBI reached to a point where they found out that Jaswant Singh Khalra was not disappeared. He was abducted by the cops, by the few cops. And then central government, and like the state government also, and the central government, they put those people behind the bar. They are still serving for life imprisonment and for abducting and killing Mr. Jaswant Singh Khalra. So that shows the constitution of our country in a great light. There, even the state government's constitution, because Punjab and Haryana High Court had given the decision of the life imprisonment when they appealed into Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court also agreed with the decision of the High Court. So all these things are documented. So the film is basically based on the testimonies, not only the stuff which is available on public domain, on Wikipedia and all. The film is based on a legal testimonies. Film is based on the judgment given by the CBI Special Court, Session Court of Punjab, High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, then Supreme Court. They're the things which is being discussed in the film. Those things are already there in NHRC's report. So everything what is being said, what has happened is already there in public domain. But now we have been told to cut the things, keep cutting the things from the film till you basically cut the history. Basically to delete the history. Let's not talk about Jaswant Singh Khalra. The film is not even entirely on Jaswant Singh Khalra. I took Jaswant Singh Khalra as an anchor. I'm talking, you have watched the film. I'm talking about the insurgency period of Punjab through the eyes of Jaswant Singh Khalra. Though he becomes a narrator, he becomes the sutradhar, and asking me to, and he's one of the greatest martyr coming from that land, who lived selflessly and who had 4-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter at home and a wife. He has a beautiful life, career. He was a bank manager. He could have settled on the advice of the Canadian government or the government of London. He could have settled in UK and Canada, perhaps would have lived the better life. But he chose to come back and fight. How selflessly. And his martyrdom is one of the greatest martyrdom. And you'll ask me to change Jaswant Singh Khalra's name from the film. That is criminal. That is insane. It's an unethical thing. Why would you say that? Why you fear from Jaswant Singh Khalra? What is the problem? They don't have any answer why they want me to change the name of Jaswant Singh Khalra. During our court proceedings, when it was happening, started from June, entered into July, and by 16th or 17th of July, we got the news the film is been, Punjab 95 has been selected in a gala premiere in Toronto International Film Festival, and we will have the world premiere. The hearings were going on, and by this, in the second last hearing, when this thing took place, when the Lordship said ki that is not my reading, you know, and he probably feels or he thinks ki this film should get released without a single cut. That is my reading from the court, whatever the hearing I was attending. And then finally you can see like you're already on a losing ground, because what are you fighting against? Because the film is standing on the truth, on the legal backing. So what are you fighting for? He said, why the CBFC was formed in India? CBFC is an independent body. So their decision of protecting the artist's expression, art, freedom of expression and the speech should not get colored coordinated with the sitting government. That's why CBFC is formed. They had no answer. That was the time around 4:30 in the court, and they had one more hearing left. And we had also requested to fast track it. So after a gap of a day, there was another hearing. So then we were very, very happy and very positive, because the things were going in a great direction. And we all, finally, when you're stuck, you'll go to the court, and that's your last hope. And we were very, very hopeful that the things will fall in place, hopefully. And by 4:30, the court adjourned, and 6:30, my producers got a call for a meeting. And I was told that meeting took place in Delhi.
You mean with the government? Or
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, like, of course, my producers will not share the name with me. And So the meeting took place in Delhi. That much I know. And it was told to my producer not to fight in the High Court against the government. Withdraw your film from the High Court. Not only that, withdraw your film from Toronto International Film Festival. You cannot have the premiere in Toronto International Film Festival. All those things happened, and this is what I got to know from my producers. And he told me, honey, we are not unfortunately fighting anymore in the High Court, and we are also not going to Toronto. So my question to him was, but for Toronto, for any international screening, we don't even need the censor certificate. It's illegal to stop the screening. But what I could gather, nothing was happening legally or lawfully. So my argument had no ground, because legally one should follow what the court says. When you are being forced to withdraw your film from the court, who should we go for the justice? Who should we ask? Where we would demand the justice? It's a violation of Article 1919. We don't have the right to speak. We don't have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And we claim that it's a democratic country. So one stand has to be very, very clear. Are we independent citizen? Are we living in a democratic country? If that is the scene, then why we have been stopped of speaking the truth? We are being stopped speaking the truth. That is unbelievable. Is somewhere you feel pity about it, like what is happening and why it's happening. I can understand. Court of law says you have a problem with the film, your film has a problem, there's not 127 cuts, there will be 150 cuts. I'll agree, I will not release the film. If the film has a problem, I don't want, I'm a filmmaker, I'm not a criminal. I don't want any kind of unrest in the country, in the state or anything, if my film is like that. But let this come from the court. Don't take away my right to fight in the court. That's my constitutional right.
So I understand from what you're saying that the assumption that they had is that perhaps the film would create problems if it is released, right?
On the assumption basis, they said this might create law and order situation in Punjab. So now the Lordship also asked that one question: since when CBFC started looking into the law and order of any state? Why doesn't CBFC does their job? Law and order is the job of a state government. I tell you very honestly, I am not against probably of all these films which are getting made coming from different states. Film coming from Kashmir can be released, can have a standing ovation at the parliament, or the parliament screenings can happen for Sabarmati film. That comes from Gujarat, the film. Then there is a film coming out from Kerala. The film coming out from Delhi, the emergency. So I am not against these filmmakers. That is their reading. They are making their films on that. So these 4 films which I am giving you the example, they are coming from 4 different parts of the states. Their law and order can be controlled. But a film coming out of Punjab, their law and order cannot be controlled.
So for the audience, I mean, as someone who's watched the movie, and I'll come to you, Amandeep, now, it's a very poignant, it's a very strong movie which will leave you with a lot of thoughts. I mean, one of the thoughts which I had as I finished watching the movie is, without not giving away too much, is Jaswant Singh Khalra basically saying that we are all lamps when there is darkness around us, right? All of us are lighting one small portion. I thought it was very powerful that in the state that we are in today, most of us believe that we are just doing our bit, right? Whether it's through cinema, through activism like Amandeep is, law and journalism like Leena is, or whatever. All
Basically
of us are doing.
challenging the darkness around.
Exactly. No. So the movie, for the audience, I would tell you to go read Article 14 piece done by Anna Vettikard, who has come on the show previously and has talked about this very same movie, in which Anna has explained all the cuts. But from whatever I understood, the 127 cuts includes removing the name Punjab. So imagine Punjab police will just be police. Like they will just exist in vacuum. They will all be wearing turbans, but they will be perhaps in Kerala because they can't be in Punjab. They want the name Jaswant Singh Khalra removed. They want most sequences, very, very important sequences, including of torture by the police removed. They want the number 25,000. Basically, it was believed that 25,000 people had died in extrajudicial murders by the police in Punjab. They want the number removed. There are so many ridiculous cuts that eventually there will be nothing left of the movie, which is why Honey has said, I will not agree for these cuts. I want to go to Amandeep. Amandeep, most of the people listening to our podcast are from southern India. For them, how would you place Jaswant Singh Khalra? How would you explain this man and what he means to Punjab?
See, there are two things here. One is being a Punjabi, being a Sikh by birth and living in Bangalore. I constantly feel that I know a lot about what is going on in South India. But the people around me have no idea of where I come from, what has happened in my land, what is my history. There is a sort of a silencing on my part because I chose to write my books, work on them and communicate with the world. But gross injustice has happened with Punjab in the past, and there are many examples of it. This was one of the big ones because here is a person who is fighting for human rights of the parents who want either the body of their kin or they want a death certificate. That is all he was fighting for. That please acknowledge that these people are killed. And the state was reluctant to do that. Finally, he was abducted by the police. Everything in the movie, see, there's a way of looking at it. We know that a lot of injustice has happened with Punjab and a lot of throttling of voices has also happened. We haven't been allowed to speak. So when I saw this film, of course I was overwhelmed, but and Honey can tell you, I told him then, I said, you've given voice to so much angst of Punjab. Just the telling of your story and the hearing of your story gives so much relief to victims. If something bad happens with us and somebody just listens to us and believes us, we find a relief in that. That is the purpose of art. This film is doing that. It is bringing out a story and communicating it to the world so that the world knows what happened in Punjab. I don't see, if you want to heal Punjab, you must actually bring out this movie and said, yes, wrongs happened. Wrongs happened which were corrected then by the Central Bureau of Investigation, by the High Court, and by the Supreme Court. So it is actually a film which the state should say that our processes worked. We finally could bring justice to Mr. Khalra's family. But I don't know why they have this thing that, it will create so much tension, Actually, it might not. It might actually give a vent to the deep angst. There is Khalra angst and there are many more. But some angst, some window has been found for our grief to come out. That is the purpose of the movie. That is the purpose of doing art. But the state, I don't know why it thinks differently. It keeps thinking that we should curb them down, we should box them down, we should not allow them to speak, and then that will be peace. You create a desolation and call it peace. That is your choice.
I tell you, like a very small thing. I was shooting in Punjab. I have shot this film on 137 plus real locations. The police stations in the film, whatever you see, those are the real police stations. And when you make a film for your everyday shoot, the two permissions you need to take, one is the BMC, one is the police permission. You have to take the police permission to shoot a film. Leave the other part of the town where the cops doesn't know what we are shooting and all. We are shooting in the police station, in Taran police station. And
where most of these killings happened. Yeah.
Taran police station is one of the prime location. And when we were shooting in that police station, the cops came to us and they knew of course, the film is about Jaswant Singh Khalra and all. We had already shot for some 15-20 days, and clippings started coming on social media. Somebody recorded something and this posted. The cop said कि this is a film based on Jaswant Singh Khalra, and they laughed about it and they said कि इसमें तो हम ही लोग villain हैं. मतलब we are the villain in Punjab police is the villain basically in Jaswant Singh Khalra's story. So I was like कि yeah, this happened. I was scared कि I might not get the permission. That cop said कि whatever is been done is done. We'll give you the permission. We stand by the film. We stand by you. Because Jaswant Singh Khalra's martyrdom is way bigger than anything. And even in the film, if you have watched the film, and even in the film, I'm not talking about the entire Punjab police. It's always I'm talking about the few cops in Punjab. See, that is the very natural thing. If you give power, like obnoxious power, to people, they intend to misuse it. So when during the insurgency time period, the police has been given lots of power by the state to control the militancy and for other things, and how few cops misuse their power, which led to Jaswant Singh Khalra's abduction and the killing. And the people who misuse their power, they have been punished by the state government and the central government. It shows our constitution in such a great light.
So once I finished watching the movie, I was also wondering, why did the censor board want so... Before watching the movie, I thought that perhaps it is to do something with India-Canada relations, so, which already are at a low now, therefore it will affect that.
It started in 2023.
No, exactly. I mean, I'm saying when I previously I thought so, or I thought maybe it will show Punjab police in such a light that they do not want the movie to release. I mean, I had a lot of assumptions before watching the movie. But after I watched it, I was wondering that at the end of the day, Punjab police also, there are good people in it, there are bad people in Punjab police.
I've showed both the sides.
Yeah. And the Canada part was not something which the government of India has to worry about today. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it was the Congress government which was in power at the center and the state. So it did not make any sense logically to me. I want to come to you, Amandeep, and I want to pick something from what Honey said. He said, it is about a few cops who are obnoxious, who use their power wrongly, right? Do you think that could be one reason why the censor board is so skeptical about the movie? Because of that cop, which is of course KPS Gill, who people do talk about when they talk about Jaswant Singh Khalra. He will still have his fans in the bureaucratic circles, right?
He is one of them, but in my opinion, it is that everybody, whether it were the police or even the militants at that point, they were all just caught in the system which was working around them. Everybody was trapped in that period. They were going at each other, and then it is not only KPS Gill, it is Julio Ribeiro before him who actually brought in the policy of bullet for bullet. And then there were these promotions and there were these incentives given to low-level cops to come up on the pecking order of police, which perhaps a lot of them got greedy and they started killing a lot of innocent people. And which were people, means Sikhs, even Hindus, young, even aged, men, even women. They were just counting the bodies and getting them disappeared, or cremation grounds or rivers, as you saw in the film, So the system had turned on itself, basically. And I won't hold any one person liable for what happened there. I would hold that the whole system went wrong at that point. And that is exactly what the film is showing. That the system had become like this, in this darkness. There was this one light who started spreading light around him, and gradually the list kept building. Even the number that we say about 25,000 is what he said, that if in 3 cremation grounds I got 2,000 plus, then it is estimated that in the whole of Punjab there will be 25,000. He hadn't seen all those numbers, but he gave a figure like that, which sort of looked correct, because there was a lot of disappearance happening in Punjab in those days. So it's not about against a person. In fact, in the film, there are lines given to the police which talks about how they are also stuck with what they are doing. How they are also handling this immense, what KPS Gill called was a low insurgency war going on in Punjab at that time. That is what his big statement was after, Superintendent SSP A.S. Sandhu committed suicide. He wrote a huge letter to the government. Now quoted from it in the book as well. He calls it a low-grade warfare going on. Now, if it was warfare going on, then bring the Geneva Convention there. And let us look at all the sites here. So they're just trying to brush it off, because for the Indian police establishment, he is the blue-eyed boy. It is his way of dealing with law and order, which is the best way of dealing with law and order. And we all know it is the worst way of dealing with law and order, because you don't really solve anything doing that. So I think the problem really is that the Indian system does not know how to handle a movie like this. So they're just trying to shut it down into a box. But I feel that a movie like this cannot be shut down, really. There will be a time when it will come out, and it will come out full. Exactly, without any cuts.
Now, one thing that struck me while watching the movie is that this did not happen somewhere in the 1800s or 1900s, and we should be unaware. Like, as a journalist myself, it happened in 1995, and I was not aware that the bodies were so many that they were just pushing them into rivers, the victims of extrajudicial killings. There's one particular scene where the Rajasthan government is saying that, look, bodies are flowing from Punjab rivers into Rajasthan and you should stop it. And to those people watching, this is a part of history in a state that perhaps we don't closely track, but I think we should be aware of. At News Minute ourselves, we are doing this whole series on police excesses and the kind of things that we are discovering even today, right? The impunity of the police force. And that comes across perfectly well in this movie. I want to ask Honey, why did you decide to make a movie on Jaswant Singh Khalra and also get Diljit Dosanjh to play the role?
See, also the other thing, Jaswant Singh Khalra has been a part of my growing up years. I come from Taran. And my childhood was there, and that was mainly the insurgency period. So I have seen things are taking place around me, and we used to keep hearing Jaswant Singh Khalra name, and somewhere that name was there, and I never knew at that age, 7-8 years old, and I didn't know that one day I'll end up making the film. But then later on, our family shifted from Punjab to Allahabad. We moved to Allahabad, and my interest with the cinema and the films were going on. I started doing theatre, and when I joined Vishal Bharadwaj, and at a very young age, and Abhishek was also there. Abhishek Chaubey, who's a renowned filmmaker, made Urta Punjab and Ishqiya did Ishqiya. So, like, we both were Vishal sir's assistant, and in the free time I used to talk about the stories, and he used to tell me about his past. I used to tell him about what I have faced or what we have seen in Punjab. And he also used to suggest ki, Honey, as a filmmaker, it's very important to tell personal stories, and you must think about it. And these stories are very valuable, and it has all those things.
You're from this region of Taran also.
I'm from Taran. I have studied in Arya Model School, Taran. And my ancestors comes from Goindwal Sahib. That's one of the most holiest village of Taran. And between Taran and Goindwal Sahib, there is a place called Khalra, from where Jaswant Singh Khalra comes from. Khalra is the title given to them. His name is also Jaswant Singh Sandhu, and he comes from the family of martyrs. His grandfather was the person who was the martyr of Kamagata Maru. The ship which went to Canada. So there's a history attached to that, and so Jaswant Singh Khalra was given the title of Khalra. So the family use this title. So, and he was living in Amritsar, he was doing his job. So I started, these conversations were there, like me talking about Punjab and Abhishek suggesting me to take these things forward and all that. Then we got into filmmaking. He started directing his own films. I got the opportunity to make my first film. And COVID happened. The first wave of COVID, I was told, and it was normal, like you have to quarantine for 14 days. You just wait for your reports. It says positive 14 days. You're just stuck in one room. When I was going in my room, I took all the books I had collected and my laptop, and I was like, okay, now 14 days I'm here. So I started reading Amandeep's book called Punjab. It's based on Mata Jaswant Singh Khalra's thing. When I read that, and it was like these things keep coming back to me. It's coming to me again and again. And then I went on internet. I was doing some more research about the certain other things. I started listening to the interviews of that kind of people. I watched some of Khalra Saab's speeches and all. And one evening I called Amandeep Paji, and I was like, yeah, I'm really serious about this subject. What do you feel? And he said, you should make a film. You come from the same ground, same land, and you know about this person, and it's worth telling his story. So that was the time around 6:30 in the evening when we spoke. And Amandeep Paji said, ki, I know their daughter, Navkiran Khalra, and if once you'll decide, I'll put you in touch with the family. Family has never given, so many people have approached them, but they have never given the rights of Jaswant Singh Khalra to anybody. I must warn you. So there are chances you might also not get. I was like, okay, that's a separate thing, but let me think about it. We kept the phone, conversation ended, and I was busy with something. Again, those things were on my table, and in the night, I just picked up my phone just to check the time. What time is it? And it was around 11:30. That was the time, if I'm right. So in the time on our phones, you see the date. And the date was 6 September. The day Jaswant Singh Khalra was abducted. In the night, I called Amandeep Paji. I was like, the call is being taken. I will go ahead and I'll make this film. Please introduce me to the family. Then he took the initiative. He introduced me to the family. So Amandeep plays a very integral part for me making this film.
I think Honey's life, if you listen to it in greater detail, you will know that he was primed for doing this work. So, and when one is like, for Khalra family, if I am talking to Honey and getting Honey introduced to them, I'm taking a lot of responsibility on my shoulders also, like that, because we know who the person is. See, in Punjab, anybody born in the 80s, 90s and earlier, they all know who Khalra Saab was. We all know the story. It's not new for us in Punjab. It is for India. It is for the world to know. So it meant something to brace up, to take that thing that, okay, this director will handle the subject well. It is also a leap of faith. It is also an act of faith. And to me, it worked because just 3 days before Honey's call, I had seen Raat Akeli Hai. And I knew that, okay, here is a noir director. He can handle, night shootings. He knows how the edits work. So I really liked that movie a lot. Though it's not my genre of watching, but I liked it a lot. And then the way he talked. And I thought, okay, let's see. And then I told Navkiran, and she said, well, many have come to us and we have never given the rights because we don't trust Indian filmmakers. I said, then you go and look at this film of his. Look at earlier films also, like he was assistant director for Omkara. Like I said, go and look at that and you see that it is not the regular Bollywood stuff. There's no song and dance here. There's no, that kind of melodrama that happens in Bollywood a lot. So she also assessed and she felt that, okay, it makes sense. After 2-3 days, she talked to her brother. Then they approached their mother, Bibi Khalra, who is respect for us, her is huge in our hearts. And we don't want to betray that family, because we know all that has happened with the Khalra mission later on. So that's what again I told Honey when I came out. I said, "Tu large rakh li yaar. You've kept our honor." So.
But Honey, I want to ask something. Technically now, Jaswant Singh Khalra's family has been betrayed by the censor board because they are not allowing this movie to be released, for which rights they gave. And I presume they watched the movie and they don't have any problems with it.
They don't have any problem. That's why I'm saying it's nearly this 6 September. This will be the 30th year of Jaswant Singh Khalra's martyrdom. And I feel after in his 30th year, he's been abducted again. What family has experienced that time, we all are experiencing it now. It's largely the same thing.
Because you're not being allowed to tell his story now.
And I must tell you, it's not the entire CBFC who's against it. As so many CBFC people, like I didn't go to them because I didn't know the protocol. And so many CBFC people have told me, what a great film is this, or what a beautiful film is this, and very courageous, very good film. Even I must tell you, this ex-CEO who was there, and he told me very categorically that all the things are going to boil down on CBFC. But in bureaucracy, our hands are too tight. So I'm sorry, I can't help you out with this. So it's not about the entire CBFC. It's about the people. Again, like in the insurgency period, there were people who were given extra powers and few of them misusing their powers. It's the same time. In today's time at CBFC, there are people who has been given powers and they are misusing their power. They are abusing their posts. So that's the only thing. It's the same board. And one of the screening, in the second screening, the revising committee, there's one more thing. The FCAT is not there. The tribunal is not there. They have removed. I think that should at least come back. The revising film straight go to the revising committee. Revising committee said ki all this is bullshit. This never happened. I said, I have the testimony and everything. They said, we have no idea about who's Jaswant Singh Khalra, and all these things are alien to us. So I said, okay, I have the supporting for each and every sequence, each and every scenes in the chronological order I can submit. They said, okay, if you're so sure, just get it. Me with the producer's team, we all went to Amritsar, we all went to Chandigarh, we took all the records, everything, the stamped by the government, like from different courts, everything. Rajendran Singh Bans, who was Jaswant Singh Khalra's lawyer, largely helped us to compile everything in a chronological order. And those almost like around 1800 pages we submitted into the censor board, and then they said ki we are not going to read all these things. You please mark the main areas like what we have objection with. We submitted that. They have watched the film keeping those things in mind, and now everything is clear ki the things you are objecting or are asking to change, those things are based on legal documentation. Film got over, I was called and I looked at the people, and the head of the revising committee, he looked at me. I said, sir, now please tell me what is the thing. He said, who speaks the truth so loudly in today's time? I had no answer to that, because I feel speaking the truth loudly should get appreciated. You should not get blamed for it. And I am speaking the truth because I find Jaswant Singh Khalra's martyrdom is such a noble thing. It's a great thing. It's a part of our history. Who lives in today's time so selflessly? Who's fighting for such kind of a causes without any personal interest? For me, his story was a great, courageous story. If we can make a film on Bhagat Singh, on Mahatma Gandhi, why can't we make a film on Jaswant Singh Khalra? Jaswant Singh Khalra was a great follower of Bhagat Singh. But I don't find Jaswant Singh Khalra's martyrdom is any less than Shahid Bhagat Singh. That's my personal thing. So I had all the right because I always see him in the great light. That was one of the key reasons for me to tell his story. And it's been 27, that time it was about 27 years he's been abducted, and the newer generation, we don't know anything about Jaswant Singh Khalra. Even the diaspora doesn't know. And the film, all the intellectuals who have watched the film across India, even outside India, nobody finds there's any problem. After all these discussions with CBFC, when we were like at the 127 cuts, and the benefit of doubt I had ki probably I'm too close to the film. I'm too attached to the film. And that's why I can't see the problem. I took the liberty and I showed the film to SGPC, Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, Punjab. I showed the film to them. Later on, they organized the screening for Akal Takht. Akal Takht sab people and Jathedar, they all watched the film. They don't have the problem with any problem with the film, and they feel that this is not, stop calling it a film. They said this is the part of our history. It's a documentation of our history. And it's a truth. This film has all the right to become political, talking about this party, that party, anything. My film entirely speaks about human rights. You have watched the film. I don't see I have drifted away at any given point from where I have stopped talking about human rights and I was talking about something else. My film does not talk about the separatism. My film does not talk about the word of Khalistan and anything. My film does not talk about that. My film is entirely based on human rights.
And the violation of human rights.
And the violation of human rights. And this time me coming out and talking about this, again, I'm fighting for the human rights. I'm fighting for the freedom of speech, which is the constitutional right of any citizen of India. What is wrong in that?
Leena, you've been listening very patiently. Because you have not watched the movie, you're not at an advantage like me.
Of all three of you, I think I'm the only person who haven't watched the movie. But whatever I've heard from reactions, Honey, I must congratulate you for making a commendable movie here that has impressed so many people. And I've read what Anna has written about and a number of cuts that has been asked for. There are a few things that has come across when I was listening to you. One is in India, to find a realistic movie made of true circumstances being as true to the original narration is a very rare thing, because I think India is a country that has no market for it and an audience which doesn't really go after the truth telling in stories. You know, we take a lot of liberties when it comes to narrating events from history and all of that. Even when an ISRO story is being made, we Bollywoodize it by casting an Akshay Kumar in the lead. Even when we want to say the story about women scientists, then that's the state of Hollywood, of Bollywood today. But these issues that you have spoke about, one thing is that we are going for a certification before a release of a movie. But here you're being asked to make cuts so that the movie can get into the audience that you have made it for. And this is not the first time, Dhanya, that we are hearing about these kind of changes. I think very recently, even in an Amir Khan movie of Sitare Zameen Par, we have heard of how there has been requests to include a line from Modi and change words in those movies and all of that. And making movies of real incidents and realistic characters, like Ravish's movie, what was it called? While we watched. And movies like Bead, which was again certain liberties were taken of the COVID-19 migration crisis, the migrant labor's return journey. All of those films, when they went for certification and when they went for release, Ravish's film, I think they completely didn't go for a release into the theaters. They went for streaming platforms because they didn't want to go to this route where they are being asked to make certain kind of modifications in story being told. So this incident of being, and I think one of the latest is with the Union Minister Suresh Gopi in this Malayalam movie that we have heard of, where the movie title is Janki versus State of Kerala, I guess, and because the name Janki was name of Sita, there was objection that the name has to be changed and the title has to be changed. And this is with the union minister playing the lead character in the movie. So these kind of changes and these kind of cuts put a lot of restrictions to people who are trying to create art out there. And that space is getting increasingly shrinked. And what I can see from the past is that there has been so many artistic work in the past that could, if it were being released in the present times, would have been quoted by these government certification bodies as which would create unrest or which would create a law and order problem, and would not have been allowed to be released. But law and order is a state government responsibility, and it's upon the state government that they should make these movies find its audience and get its release, so that, the effort that a director has put into the movie gets its validation from the audience that it is seeking it.
I want to just end by asking Honey that I was reading this report by Anna where she spoke about a lot of movies which just disappeared, right? Because the CBFC was just not giving clearance. Like this Tamil movie called Nasir. Nasir was a movie which depicted the life of a Muslim salesperson in the city of Coimbatore amidst rising Hindutva. So obviously the CBFC had issues with the movie. There were too many cuts asked and the movie never saw the light of the day. I know that you are really fighting against the system. You yourself said you showed it to people thinking that were you not able to see the problem with the movie. You've also been showing to people to just spread the word. But I'm sure you can't keep doing that forever or for a long time, right? Do you fear that this movie will eventually never get released?
See, I'm a very optimistic person by nature, so I definitely think this film will come out probably after a few years or whenever it comes out. Because, again, I would say like Jaswant Singh Khalra came alive after 30 years with this film, whosoever have watched the film. So I think another 30 years also cannot make Jaswant Singh Khalra's martyrdom disappear. The relevance of the film will only go for a toss if they can remove Jaswant Singh Khalra from the history, because the changing the history is going on in our country. Everything is getting removed. So if they will change the history, then also I don't think the film will die. I don't think. I am very, very optimistic about that. And I'll fight like as long as I can, because what I have to lose? I'm fighting for the right thing. I'm standing on the ground of truth, which I'm trying to fight. So I don't need to fear. People who are on the false side, they need to fear. So making CBFC is just a simply backdoor entry for the government so they can control the narrative of the art and the artist and the filmmaker. So they are basically telling the filmmaker to make your film according to what supports us. Basically, what is our narrative? Your film should support our narrative. Basically, why don't you open a film school? You have your people, train them to make your kind of film or whatever you believe in. I'm not against that. That is your freedom of speech.
No, this is same CBFC, let's not forget, which allowed for the Kerala story, which you did mention in the beginning. But as someone who's watched that movie and who's tracked it, it said some ridiculous number of 12 to 30,000 women have disappeared from Kerala as if it was a matter of fact. And when the CBFC passed the movie, it goes to the court and the court says, where did you get the number from? Then the movie makers take back the number. And just with that small change in the beginning, the movie was released. As someone who's watched the theatre, I know the last scene in the movie still retained that number. It's not like it was taken off completely. So we understand the politicization of CBFC. While we watch the movie on Ravish Kumar made by Vinay, we actually had a screening once for the subscribers of the News Minute. Maybe we could figure out some way in which your movie also could be shown to a larger population. Amandeep, your last thoughts, especially not just about Honey's movie, but about censorship itself, which stops stories from being told, and as important a story as Jaswant Singh Khalra's.
2 points here I want to make, and one of them I've shared with Honey earlier. About 30 years, the family kept the story of Khalra ji in their heart. They didn't let it get distorted. And again, when I saw the movie, I told Honey, I said, what they kept in their hearts, you have brought onto screen now. It might take another 30 years to get released, but it will get released one day. Because any distortion of it, any mutilation of it, everybody will know that the government of the day stopped it. The government should actually not stop it just so that they don't get a bad name later on. Because everybody in Punjab knows the story. Everybody in Punjab wants to see the full story. At least among the Punjab and the Sikh community, we know what it is. What it wants to tell the rest of the country is that the government knows better, I think. But another thing I told Honey at that point was that, Honey, you can keep breaking your head against a wall because all these problems had started. But there's a certain innocence I saw in the director in the movie, a certain freshness of approach. And we all know, Dhanya, you would agree that there was a fresh way of looking at what has jilted us actually. Over these years, we have become, tired of knowing all these horrors of Punjab. I said, don't lose your innocence just fighting with others for its release. Its time will come. Just like the time to make the movie came, the time to release the movie will come. That is my suggestion to Honey, publicly sharing now. Second is, I think the government, there should be no censor board in the country. What does the censor board do? Why does it exist? Let people decide what they want to see, what they don't want to see.
And I completely agree with that. I think censoring by the government, in fact, we started the show talking about the fake news censors which the Karnataka government wants to bring in, right? It's a very dangerous slope to go down. And like Amandeep said, Jaswant Singh Khalra's history is something that Punjab is very aware of.
Diaspora.
Thanks to your movie, me who lives in Bengaluru, coming from Kerala, I'm also now aware of their history. And I hope that the movie will not have to wait 30 years, but it will be released soon so a larger population will get to see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honey, for joining us. Thank you, Amandeep.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll now quickly go to the second topic of the day, a short discussion on the politics in Kerala, where the UDF, which is the Congress-led alliance, has just now won a by-poll in Nilambur. It was a big contest because it was the UDF versus the LDF, and there was an independent candidate whose name was PV Anwar. There's, of course, the BJP or the NDA, which came in the fourth position. The election has thrown up a result which was not so surprising. Aryadan Shaukat has won the Nilambur election. He was the UDF candidate. The LDF came second, and PV Anwar, who was the MLA before, has come in the third position. In fact, this election was necessitated because PV Anwar had resigned from his position. He was previously an LDF-backed MLA. Now, what does this win mean for the UDF? Because at one point, V.D. Satishan, who is the Congress chief in Kerala, had stuck his neck out and said no to PV Anwar being their candidate from Nilambur. That was an easy way out for the Congress. Choose PV Anwar as their candidate, and it would have been an easy victory for them. But Satishan said no, it will not be him. It will be a Congress candidate. So in case the UDF had lost this election, then all the blame would have gone on V.D. Satishan. But in fact, the UDF has gone ahead and won the polls. So what does it mean for Kerala's politics, especially as we are going to see the state's assembly elections in May 2026? Joining us from Thiruvananthapuram is a senior journalist, M.G. Radhakrishnan, who is also the editorial advisor of Asianet News. Welcome to South Central, Mr. Radhakrishnan. Mr. Radhakrishnan, how do you see the victory? Is it too much to read into it as a sign of things to come in 2026? Because Nilambur is a place which has its local problems also, right?
Well, I would first of all say that it's a very strong blow to the LDF government. There's no doubt about it. Because the last 4 years saw that the UDF winning about 4 seats in by-elections, but all of them were there own seats in which they represented those seats. They were sitting seats for the UDF, but this is for the first time that an LDF, a seat belonged to the LDF, is actually, where, they are defeated. So, in that respect, I think that's a major victory for the UDF. But as you said, it will be a bit too much. You can't read a bit too much into this as a sign of things to come for 2026 for various reasons. Number one, in spite of this last two assembly elections having been won by the LDF, we know that, this Nilambur is a very strong UDF bastion where Congress and Muslim League have been, reigning for quite, the longest time. At least for the last 1967 onwards, there have been 14 elections and 10 of these elections were won by this UDF candidates. So, and this is in Malappuram. As you know, Malappuram is the stronghold of the Muslim League. So this is a very, very only last two elections because of certain, certain unexpected changes. Like that Anwar, the PV Anwar, who fought this time also as an independent, was supported by the LDF as an independent candidate. So he had a Congress background. And so it is only because of that particular strategic planning and execution by the LDF that it could win. Otherwise, it is that is one point number one. Point number two is that, having been in power for the last 10 years, an anti-incumbency wave, if it was strong enough, the margin should have been much more than this 10,000 to 11,000 votes. So that is not a major win, compared to the other victories that UDF had in the other by-elections. It was in 25,000, 30,000 and plus. So considering that, this margin also is not too big to say that it's a complete indictment on the LDF or it's a completely strong anti-incumbent vote. So these 2 points are there. So 2025 need not be a cakewalk for the UDF just because it had such a huge win in Nilambur. And thirdly, in Wayanad, Nilambur is part of the Wayanad Lok Sabha seats, and 2024 elections, Priyanka Gandhi got about 60,000 plus majority in Nilambur assembly segment alone. So considering all these and considering the fact that UDF fought completely in unity, Nilambur was a constituency where the Muslim League and Congress have been not in very good terms in the past. But unlike that, this time they fought together so closely without any difference. So taking all this into consideration, you cannot say that because the UDF won Nilambur with a decent margin, this is enough to prove that it is going to be UDF all the way in 2026.
Dhanya, if I may come in there, I think from the by-election overall that has been fought, other than Arvind Kejriwal's own party saying that this is Kejriwal's return to the national scene, where his party was able to win big elections, I think another thing that to watch out for is the Nilambur election itself. So one of the questions I wanted to ask MGR sir is that this sort of seemed to have vindicated the position V.D. Satheeshan took as a leader for the Congress party and sort of have strengthened his kind of hold on the party and his opinions. But again, the factionalism of the party is going to come up again when it goes to fight the bigger election for UDF. So how does you see this as a Satheeshan's win?
Well, it's a win for Satheeshan, certainly. But at the same time, if, PV Anwar was accommodated in UDF, the margin would have been much, much higher. There is no doubt about it. So we are discussing about the margin, whether it is big or small, only because it came down to 11,000 votes. But PV Anwar was all ready to, move into UDF and support. Maybe he had some personal differences with this particular candidate, but only because V.D. Satheeshan took a very firm stand. I'm not blaming him for that. But electorally speaking, I think the UDF would have got a much higher margin in Nilambur if Anwar was accommodated. Having said that, we also have to congratulate V.D. Satheesh for taking a very strong position. This is rarely seen in electoral politics in anywhere in the country, because you have immediate considerations right before you in an election. You don't go for other ideological issues and other things. But here, Satheesh took a very firm stand. Maybe that is also driven by the kind of personal animosity that Satheesh and Anwar had, which was something which Anwar never had with anybody else in UDF. So this is a kind of a mixed kind of result as far as Satheesh is concerned, as far as Satheesh's stand is concerned. That's what I believe.
So for those watching and getting confused between Wayanad and Malappuram, Nilambur is actually a municipality. It's a town in the Malappuram district. But when it comes to the Lok Sabha seat, it comes under the Wayanad constituency. That's why it is Priyanka Gandhi's constituency. And this assembly seats falls within the Wayanad Lok Sabha seat, which Priyanka Gandhi represents. Just taking on from Leena's question, what I want to ask you is that, okay, fine, V.D. Satheesh made this choice and it somehow worked out for him. But will that help in consolidating his position within the Congress itself, or do you think that is not going to change?
Well, I think this is something which is going to help Satheesh's position in the organization, because if the margin was lesser than this, definitely Satheesh would have been in the dock. Now they have a decent majority, that is 10,000 plus. Is not a small thing at all. So Satheesh's position in the organization has got completely strengthened, because this was the chance that he took, and he took almost single-handedly. That the entire UDF brass was to take Anwar in, come what may, in the sense that Sudhakaran and even the new KPCC president Sunny also almost was completely in agreement to have PV Anwar, only because of Satheesh's solitary objection that he was not taken. So had he been, had he got majority less than that, Satheesh would have been in the dock. Now Satheesh's stakes have actually gone up in this thing. Satheesh has become very powerful in the organization, in the sense that he would be in the reckoning for the next chief minister's race also. This has actually catapulted him to the front position right now.
No, but I think there's a long way to go. It's only, June now? We have almost a year to go for the next election. Things can change dramatically. In fact, we look back at 2021. At that time, we were talking about the pandemic, but it was also a time when Pinarayi Vijayan was in the dock for the whole gold smuggling issue. All the news channels had gone to town. You yourself were part of Asianet then, and I remember all the tussle between the media and the CPM at that time, where CPM were boycotting media channels, etc. At that time, I felt that there was a section which did feel that, okay, did the CM's office have any role in this? There was a thought, right? But then the pandemic came and they sort of covered it up, the work which the Kerala government did. It's very rarely that we see governments voted back in power, whether it's Tamil Nadu, whether it's Kerala. In Tamil Nadu, of course, we have seen Jayalalitha doing that. Now the question is, will MK Stalin be able to do it? So do you think 2026 also, there is a sliver of a possibility that LDF 3.0 will happen?
Okay, so that 2021 election was completely an exceptional election in the sense that the pandemic changed everything. And otherwise, as you said, Kerala has this long tradition of having, voting out whoever in power. So I think even though that that government also had certain things to show, I think the normal kind of political situation in Kerala would have seen that that government was voted out. But only the pandemic did that. That was the cause of the difference. But this year, in 2026, I'm not quite sure that if that would happen, because such an exceptional thing is not likely to happen. That's why it's called an exception. But at the same time, I would say that still, even without the pandemic, you cannot rule out an LDF victory completely in 2026 because of various other reasons. One, though they lost this by-elections, all the by-election, they lost heavily in the Lok Sabha election. There is this, this phenomenon of BJP actually cutting into the anti-left votes in almost 60 to 70 seats. In fact, the LDF, it is actually not the last 10 years that the LDF is actually, keeping its hegemony in Kerala. It started in 2011 onwards. 2011, UDF won only with just this slender margin of 2 seats. And that too, because the Pinarayi Vijayan, V.S. Sachidanandan, problems were so high on that particular point of time. That's why it lost election. So if you take that entire history from 2011 to 2025, Kerala is the only state where the CPM is in power, and not just in power, but in complete domination of the electoral politics. So the reason mainly is not mainly on account of its own kind of performance, kind of thing, but because the performance and the emergence of BJP as a major, third player in the political scene. So now BJP has about, very considerably good presence in 60 to 65 seats and out of the 140 seats in Kerala. And Nilambur is a seat where BJP has a very nominal presence, but that is not the case with the rest of the state. So even without the LDF making any exceptional performance, the political arithmetic in the political dynamics in Kerala is such a way where the anti-left vote has been split right in the middle. So that is a major problem that UDF will have to cop up even in 2026. If the BJP is going to get about 10 to 15 seats or 15% or more than 15% seats, which is likely in 60 to 65 seats, political arithmetic would again throw up LDF as the winner. So this is an issue that UDF is not taking into consideration very seriously. So their major, support base still remains in the, Malappuram and certain Christian areas. But otherwise, the rest of the state is actually, the political situation has changed dramatically in the last 15, 20 years, which actually has helped the LDF in that particular way. So that is going to be a major issue in 2026 also.
Yeah, and the BJP has, over the last few years, worked consciously to win over the Christian vote. We saw them work with the Syrian Christians first, then we have seen them working with the Latin Christians. We have seen them move to a lot of Christian population and sort of working the combinations with them. Now, in the elections, we have not seen that translate into numbers in every election, but in the Lok Sabha Thrissur constituency, the BJP could win. Suresh Gopi won in that seat, and there is a lot of combinations which work from there. So I think the BJP also diligently has been working on winning over segments. And remember, Christians also voted a lot for the UDF. So that is a vote which has gone away from the UDF. Instead of going to the LDF, it goes to the BJP instead. So that way, yes, what you're saying is correct. But MGRC, whenever we talk about Kerala now, for people outside Kerala, the one big doubt is not whether Pinarayi Vijayan is going to become chief minister again, not if LDF is going to come back to power again. They want to know what is going to happen to Shashi Tharoor. Everybody is discussing, is Tharoor leaving? Is Tharoor not leaving? I think after Pahalgam, that was the biggest discussion, right? For some time. What is Tharoor going to do? What are you hearing? What is Tharoor going to do? What are you hearing?
Well, Shashi Tharoor is somebody who is very closely known to most of us. And right from the day he came to Kerala to begin his innings in politics, we've been in very close touch. So as a person, as somebody who has known Shashi Tharoor very closely, I would not hazard a guess that he would actually go and join BJP, to leave Congress and join BJP. But two options are there. One, if he's kicked out from Congress party, which many people, Congress leaders in Kerala would love to do, or if Narendra Modi gives him an offer saying that, Shashi, you don't have to leave Congress or you don't have to join BJP, but there are certain, he has already been enjoying such offers now, as a leader of the mission and all. If he could be offered even better options, he could be given a better office. So that is something which he would not refuse. That is what personally I think. So he may not be made to sort of, to go through the embarrassment of leaving Congress and, leaving whatever he wrote and spoke all these years and join a party like BJP. So instead, he will be given this kind of, if he is given this kind of an offer that he can't refuse, as they say. That is there. I think he's likely to leave, and the push and pull factors are very strong, because Congress Party is an organization where it doesn't care a damn about him. Just see that, he in Nilambur, he was ready to do at least a round of speeches and campaigns. Nobody called him. That is right. He, just because he was a star campaigner, that doesn't mean that he should automatically go there and start his speeches and all. Nobody cared. And the entire, the Congress leadership, right from K.C. Venugopal to V.D. Sadishan, they don't, see Shashi Tharoor as an asset at all. So in that case, it is only because of the personal conviction, the kind of political positions and the ideological positions that he took in the past, that prevents him from leaving Congress and BJP to join the BJP. But without leaving the party, without having to join BJP, he can be accommodated, as they say, by Narendra Modi, which is likely to happen. I think that could happen. Otherwise, he would like to be the Kerala Chief Minister, and UDF stands a far better chance to come back to power if Shashi Tharoor is actually projected as a Chief Minister material. But nobody seems to care, because he has the highest rating in Kerala for the last so many years. Whenever this opinion poll is conducted, he actually ranks above everybody else, heads and shoulders above. But nobody wants it. The Congress, the kind of political, the kind of personal issues.
In fact, this is something we wrote on our political newsletter, which comes every Tuesday, called Power Trip, that there are a couple of options. One is something to do in the MEA, something to do with talking to other countries about terrorism, or Sherpa-like post. There are a couple of options before Tharoor, but perhaps a little bit above a Sherpa post is what we have been hearing. But because Leena, what are your thoughts about Tharoor as a chief minister face, which of course he has been very candid about the fact that he does not mind himself being projected. And he's also said multiple times that I have other options, like I can go back to academics, I can look at posts, right? So when we say Tharoor leaves the Congress, it need not be to the BJP per se. But what are your thoughts about Tharoor as a chief minister face?
No, let me first of all go on the speculation of Tharoor is going to leave Congress and go to BJP. I think it has been running from the time he came to Congress, that, with every controversial statement that he makes, this is the time that he's going to. And I think I've sort of never bought into that. I don't think he's that material that would go to BJP. But as MGR said, and you have put, there are many other options to him. And of course, his rating in Kerala is very high, that this popularity always runs high. There is always a good vote bank. He electorally stands a good chance. The kind of people who would be fence sitters when it comes to, though would be on the anti-left side, but would be still doubting whether BJP or Congress, they would all flock to Congress if Tharoor is made a candidate. I think there is a good chance of that. But who in Congress cares of electoral politics? It is as if Congress is, it's not in this competition at all, but it's like, if you all want to hate left and come to us, please come, kind of. Given Tharoor's popularity, sometimes I wouldn't give him the CM-ship because of the certain kind of political positions he takes, or because he cannot bring all together. And that is sort of a very regional factionalist politics, and how Tharoor will be able to hold that ship. He would have been a great internationally facing or nationally facing candidate. But to hold the Kerala factionalism together, I don't know whether that is Tharoor's ball game at all.
For those listening, let us say there is a possibility that Tharoor does leave, and that too just before the 2026 elections, whether it is for a post or whether he is thrown out of the party. Will that have any impact for the Congress in Kerala, or it will not impact them at all?
Well, I don't think, Tharoor actually leaving Congress would actually impact Congress in that way. But, if he is actually put in charge in the sense that, he is going to lead UDF for Congress in Kerala, I think the chances of UDF getting back to power is far higher than without him. That is the point I'm trying to make. Nobody is as popular as him in Kerala across all divides. That's, BJP or the left or the, middle class, upper class, the lower class. Everywhere, he is the most popular candidate. So if your priority is to come back to power in a state where you have been languishing in the opposition for the last 10 years, and this is one of the very few states where you have a very pretty good organizational network your priority should be to come back to power and then deal with what's happening next.
So we'll close the discussion. MGR believes that the UDF, which perhaps has a chance of not winning an election and being in the opposition for the third time in a row, should prioritize winning. And for that winning, if Tharoor is a face that they should have, then they should bring him in. Do you agree with his views? Yes or no? Write to us at southcentral@thenewsminute.com. Thank you, MGR. But before you go, you have to give us a recommendation of a movie or of something that you want the audience to watch or listen.
Well, I think I'm completely, bowled over by a recent, by an ongoing Netflix documentary called, The Turning Point, the Vietnam Story. So this is actually coinciding with the 50th year of the ending of Vietnam's war. And it's a fantastic documentary series because, we have seen a lot of Vietnam stories, Vietnam films and documentaries, but it goes about, and the context and the timing is so sharp that, this is, something which you see right now. You have, you are reminded of that famous saying that the only lesson that you learn from history is that you don't learn anything from history.
My recommendation of a movie for the week is to watch Santosh, if the makers can get it past the censor board again. Because the movie has won laurels abroad, but is not being shown in India.
I also want to add that I'm not much of a movie watcher, but very curiously, 2 movies I've watched in the recent past, you have something to do with it. One is Ullarku, the Malayalam movie starring Parvati and Urvashi, which you produced.
Right.
And now Punjab 95. So my gap between watching movies is very long, and both now have something to do with Honey Trehan. What is your recommendation for the week?
In today's time, again, I would say people should watch Santosh. Even I have reached out to the director of Santosh. I really want to watch that film. That film was at Cannes International Film Festival and so many other film festivals. And I really, really want to watch the film. The film which is getting internationally acclaimed and appreciated. Why are we stopping that film? That film is based on a true story. Why are we shying away? What are we fearing for? The people should know.
Okay, Leena, what is your recommendation?
Hi. So early this June, Himal South Asia has put out its Fiction Fest 2025 winners. I think there are some really, there has over the last few years, whenever this finalist has been put out, I know a lot of editor friends who closely watch it and really like what they pick as reads. So I think this year too, they have great speculative fiction there, and that's great reads for you to scan through.
So that's Himal Mag's list that you're talking about. Mine is a story which a colleague has done, Sumedha Mittal, actually 2 colleagues, and Vishal Vaibhav. This is from Fadnavis's seat in Maharashtra, in which Newslaundry has found that in the last 6 months, 30,000 votes have been added in that constituency, which is Nagpur Southeast, and that the election staff itself was saying that there are lapses. Now, this is one ongoing controversy, right? The Congress has been saying that too many voters, lakhs of voters are getting added to the list and they're unaware of the list. Rahul Gandhi, in fact, wrote an article very recently for the Indian Express where Fadnavis then the very next day wrote a counter article on the same newspaper. So there's an investigation by Sumedha and Vishal. Do read this. So that's it on South Central this week. Pooja Prasanna is not there today because last South Central we discussed about Keeradi and excavation, and a lot of our readers told us that send Pooja to Keeradi because I asked, do you want Pooja to go? And a lot of people wrote to us saying send Pooja, and one of our subscribers actually helped us in organizing the transport, in the stay, everything. I mean, it's completely done by a subscriber. So thank you to the subscriber, and to all of you. Watch Let Me Explain this week. Pooja will bring you that report from Keeradi. Thank you, MGR. Thank you, Leena.
Thank you, Dhanya. Thank you, Leena.
Thank you to my producer Bhuvan Malik, to my editor Jasim Ali, to production assistant Ajay R, and Sukanya Shaji, who's listening into this show. Tune in next week and tell everybody you know to watch or listen to South Central.
Hello everyone, I'm in Madurai today at the Keeladi site. I'm on ground to cover a story that's been unfolding for many years now. It's a story about history, identity, politics, and questions that we choose to dig up. In this week's episode of Let Me Explain, I'll break down the story of Keeladi, its history, who gets to tell it, and what's being left out. The episode drops on Saturday. It's one you don't want to miss.